Welcome everyone to the program EdTech Mondays Nigeria, brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with Co-Creation Hub Limited. The EdTech Mondays is a platform to facilitate critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning by bringing together key stakeholders, including policymakers, EdTech entrepreneurs, teachers, and of course, parents. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of the show. My name is Joyce Daniels, social engineering practitioner, and I'm honored to be your host today. The topic for today's discussion is open educational resources, OER. Should EdTech harness open licenses? Open educational resources are described as learning, teaching, and research materials in any media, digital or otherwise, that belong to the public domain or have been released under an open license permitting free access, free use, and free adaptation, as well as redistribution by others without restriction. In 2002, the term Open Educational Resources, OER, was adopted at UNESCO's Global Forum and Open Courseware to describe the phenomenon of sharing educational resources under open licenses. Now, with the fast-growing EdTech ecosystem in Nigeria, it is important to understand the concept of OER and its growing importance in the Nigerian educational system. Why should EdTech businesses care about the concept? How are EdTech businesses in Nigeria and beyond using OERs? Are there successful business models that harness open licenses? What are the business risks of open licenses? On this edition of EdTech Mondays, we take the time to understand open education resources and how they can be harnessed to support education and learning in Nigeria. Our panelists are more than able and ready to do justice to the topic. So join me, welcome Kelechi Uchenna, who is an environmental engineer, an information and data consultant who attended the prestigious King's College, Lagos. He holds a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering from University of Port Harcourt and a first-class master's degree in environmental engineering from Cyprus International University, somewhere in North Cyprus. Prior to running his own company, Kelechi worked in the oil and gas sector as a planner for the Interglobal Procurement and Engineering Services. Kelechi also worked as a marine operations and drilling operations engineer with Shelf Drilling Offshore Services Nigeria Limited. He was selected among the top 50 entrepreneurs in the Diamond Bank's BET7 program for entrepreneurs, hosted by the Enterprise Development Center at the Lagos Business School. He also has a certificate in entrepreneurial management from the Enterprise Development Center of the Lagos Business School. Kelechi is a 2019 Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Foundation alumni and is also PMI certified project manager. Kelechi is the founder of Nigenius.ng, which is an EdTech startup that has created a smart website that works with teachers to automatically create quality, well-researched lesson plans and teaching resources on their computers, their interactive screens, and mobile devices. He is a hardworking, creative young man that is committed to achieving great feats in the training and technology industry in Nigeria and Africa. Welcome, Kelechi.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Thank you for having me.
We're glad that you're here. We also have with us Daniel Emenaho. Daniel is a development professional, learning expert, and project management specialist. His work contributes broadly to designing, managing, and implementing projects that support youth transition, human capital development, and promoting sustainable development in Africa. He currently leads the efforts of the learning and development team of Jobaman Nigeria to create innovative learning experiences and to scale learning platforms to upskill 5 million Nigerian youths by the year 2025 for the Young Nigeria Works project by MasterCard Foundation. In the last 4 years, Daniel's work has supported project management, program evaluation, stakeholders management, curriculum development, and training in collaboration with development partners like CT Foundation, MasterCard Foundation, British Council, SNEPCO, Ford Foundation, and many more across Nigeria, Ghana, Malawi, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Uganda. He has facilitated training experiences on soft skills, organizational effectiveness competencies, entrepreneurship, and education to over 5,000 individuals across Africa. Daniel holds a BSc in biochemistry from the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, and a senior executive certificate in non-profit leadership management from the prestigious Lagos Business School. He's a global shaper of the World Economic Forum. Welcome, Daniel. So glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce, for the introduction. And thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So, Kelechi,
Hi.
for our viewers who are unfamiliar with the concept of open educational resources, please, could you explain what it means and how it relates to EdTech in as simple form as possible?
Okay, cool. So thank you for that. So open educational resources, OER, is simply educational pictures, videos, documents, games, applications that can be used for teaching and learning that are available on the internet for teaching and learning. They can be used to improve student performances, teacher productivity, and they can also be used to improve school administration. It can go from videos for students, it can go for documentations for teachers, it can also go for white papers for school owners and policymakers, but it's available on the internet for free. It can be downloaded, it can be copied, it can be shared, okay? So that's it, just educational pictures, videos, documents that help improve student performances, teacher trainings, teacher productivity, and help school owners manage their schools well. Now, EdTech is basically leveraging technology to improve student performances, learning outcomes, and helping you run your school. All the different categories or all the different sectors of EdTech leverage on open educational resources, in one way or the other. So it's either students are getting resources to be able to perform better, learn better, teachers are getting resources to improve themselves, or school owners are actually getting resources to administer and run their schools better. So it's symbiotic, So EdTech leverages on open educational resources to deliver its outcomes to the different stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders? Students, teachers, and the people who run the schools. Yeah.
Thank you so much for clearing that up for us all. I'm sure some of our listeners will have more questions. We'll tell you what to do with the questions further down the show. So just hold on with your questions.
Great.
Thank you, Kelechi.
Yeah.
Many African research institutions and universities are increasingly using open licenses to make their research available and visible globally. The number of open access repositories is growing so quickly that it's difficult to keep track of them. In Nigeria, the National Universities Commission, the NUC, in partnership with the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, established a foundation called the Nigerian Research and Education Network to ensure that universities can communicate, collaborate, access, and share resources across national and international boundaries, primarily for the purpose of research and learning, but with added capabilities to offer the efficiencies of unified communications and consolidation of digital data. So, Kelechi and Daniel, I would like you to help us elaborate on this. How are EdTech businesses in Africa and beyond using open education resources at the moment?
All right, so from my experience in terms of how we use OER is a simple way. I believe many EdTech businesses are using that too, is that we design this training, we design this content, we design these courses, and we'll put them on our learning platforms using either Coursera or some of the upcoming learning platforms that are coming out like Thinkific. We're also trying to even use, working with different partnerships to use other platforms, to meet people who don't have access to data or access to internet. So that is the way we're implementing using OER and we also do a lot of partnerships with other organizations who are content creators and other organizations who have access to people can take advantage of this resources. Because it's one thing to use these resources, but when there's no demand, it doesn't really encourage the creation and the supply of those resources. Yeah.
Now, Kelechi, jump in.
Okay, let me jump in. Okay, great. Now, what you said about the collaboration of the Nigerian universities, that's fantastic. It's a major win for OER, which is very, very important. Now, in terms of OER, there are two types of people, categories of OER. There are the EdTech companies that create their own resources. For example, we have like ULesson and you have like Niger Kids. They create their own, they're the originators. Then there are also people who leverage or share or distribute open source resources open resources that they get from the internet, like Nigenius, for example. Because aside creating the lesson plan for teachers, we also give teachers access to online teaching resources from the internet, but targeted to what they want to teach. So those are the two categories of open educational resources. The people who create theirs and share, and the people who leverage what they find and distribute and share effectively. Now, one way or the other is a large ecosystem. Is if you're contributing to it or gaining from it in one way or the other. Even if you create, you still got your knowledge from somewhere. So you can see it's like a global network of information. You're getting from here, you're building upon it, you're researching, you're building upon it, and you're creating your own content. Or you're taking from somewhere and you're sharing and maybe targeting it exactly the way people want to use it. So it's a large ecosystem of data that is very, very important. Why is it important for EdTech companies? Because it enables students to actually learn beyond their borders. You're a Nigerian student in SS3 and you're learning about jet propulsion. You can understand within the context of Nigeria, you can understand within the context of Africa, and you can even find out what's happening in the States with NASA and how they're doing, and that's where open educational resources come from. You can go to YouTube, you can go to the different sites, Khan Academy, and get these resources free and learn. So you go beyond your borders, and that's what education is all about. Not just learning what has been written down, but being able to have an open mind that can explore and get more things. So that's the benefit of open educational resources, and EdTechs, especially in Nigeria, are leveraging on that in one way or the other.
Education is really changing. It's very different from when we were learning, even though many of us are still learning. So things are changing. Yeah. So Kelechi, let me send you this other hydra-headed question of mine. Making your product, platform, content available under open license feels inherently risky. Like it strips EdTech companies of their competitive advantage. What would you say to this? Is there a case to be made for EdTech entrepreneurs adopting this approach? Are there successful business models that harness open licenses? And what are the downsides that EdTech entrepreneurs may want to consider?
Great question. So first of all, risky. Let's look at the risk. First of all, even starting a business in the first place is a risk. Then talk less of a business decision. It's even riskier. Now, I've come to find out that in the EdTech industry, freemium models are very effective. And so when I mean freemium models, it doesn't mean giving out everything. It's giving out a piece of what you have and giving the rest for a cost or a fee. Now, why are freemium models important? Because in the EdTech industry, because of OER, going back to open educational resources again, somebody comes to your platform or your site and they initially have to pay for something. They can actually head on the internet, click on another website and get it for free, and they're gone, and you've lost that customer. So it's always good to give something that for free, and that free thing is open. Anybody can access it, download it, or copy it, and then give some things at a fee. So the freemium model is very, very effective in EdTech. So founders should not be scared to give out some things for free. Now, are there successful businesses that have leveraged on that? Yes, there are. There are lots of people who do that. I can give examples like Teachers Pay Teachers, which is a fantastic website that has teachers sharing and selling information. If you click and you're searching, you will see things for free. You also see the ones that are paid. You know, Twinkle, a big one. I think I mentioned it in the last time we had a conversation with MasterCard. You know, they give out for free, and they also have subscriptions as cheap as 999 naira per month, you know, but there's free things, but you have to sign up. So they collect your email address. You know, Nigerians, okay, our teaching resources and our lesson plans are for free. What we also have is that we have the tutor side where we connect tutors to parents for, you know, for home lessons. That's how we earn, you know, but all our resources, lesson plans and teaching resources are free, open source. Yeah. You know, now, what are the risks? There are people who will definitely copy you. There are people who will go to your site and want to take everything down. If it's free, they want to take everything to their advantage. It's the internet, you know, you can't stop them, but you can innovate around it. For example, so at Nigerians, because all our lesson plans are free, we're careful about people who just want to come there and download everything for their school. So we limit downloads to 6 downloads a day. So imagine you want to download over 800 lesson plans. I can only download 6 every day. You will download and download and download, but you're coming back every day. You're coming back every day. So the thing is, you can't stop it, but you can innovate around it. You can brand your content. You can add restrictions to downloads. There's always a way, as long as you focus on that problem a lot. But in terms, so the risks are there, but they can be innovated around. But the freemium model, which is OER, Open Educational Resources, it works in EdTech. It does. Look at the big EdTechs like Khan Academy. Look at the rising ones. Look at they all leverage on freemium models.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelechi. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Daniel, I have a question for you, but before I do, let me just set this tone. That according to Bonds et al. In 2019, governments can employ a combination of policy and technical solutions to address this challenge. They can invest in resource virtualization, satellite-based internet, lease unused dark fiber, build government-owned networks. They can incentivize telecommunications providers to provide subsidized access to rural areas, tax universal service funds, and or use white spaces, wireless technology that leverages unused television and radio frequencies to create wireless broadband connections. Malawi, South Africa, Namibia, Nigeria, Tanzania, and Zambia have expanded internet access through some combination of the above efforts. So my question, what policy changes are needed to realize the UNESCO's Open Educational Resource Recommendation in Africa? And what do African countries have to gain by embracing the provision of open educational resources?
I would say some policies include, driving our secondary school education body, even the tertiary institutions to take advantage of these resources and start using them, for the activities in the school. Right now, if you look at the current policy or the way education is being done, it's still textbooks, still lecture notes, it's still the traditional way of learning. So there needs to be that encouragement for people to start taking advantage of these resources online. Like I said earlier, these resources exist, these open educational resources exist, but there's not so much of the demand and side of things. And I believe that demand will drive the supply and the creation of more courses. So the policy that can come into place is for people to, for our institutions to start using very strongly these resources that are available. It's not so much about creating new ones. It's the ones that are available, are they being in use? And EdTech businesses also start collaborating with these institutions to drive, the use of these resources. So policies in place like that will really help a lot from the education point of view. And the last question was,
what do African countries have to gain by embracing the provision of open educational resources?
Africa has a lot to gain. The world is becoming more of a global space than a continental space. We need to learn from And one good thing about these resources is not just based on the African context. You get to learn things even outside Africa. So it can drive knowledge sharing. So as Africans, if we have our own OER platforms, and other guys from outside the country can learn, be an opportunity for us to develop content that even speaks to the African narrative, and people outside can even gain access to and learn. So it's going to drive exposure, it's going to drive knowledge sharing, and it's going to increase the awareness, or should I even say the exposure for young people to learn things beyond the space and learn things that are very important in the 21st century workplace realities. Yeah, I think, and so much more, that they can do.
So much more. Thank you so much, Daniel. We would love to hear from you, our listeners. Please answer the question: should EdTech companies harness open licenses? Send us a text or WhatsApp message on 0703 165 0809. The number again is 0703 165 0809. And of course, we'll be happy to have you join our Telegram channel, EdTech Mondays Nigeria, and let us know what you think. Many thanks once again to our panelists, Kelechi, Uchenna, and Daniel Emenahal.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much. So it was a pleasure to be here and looking forward to more of this. Thank you, Joyce, and thank you, CcHUB. Bye.
Thank you for being here. To our listeners, thank you for joining us today. We hope to have you here again, same time next month on the same station. My name is Joyce Daniels. Bye for now.